Hello and welcome to Nosotros, the podcast about Mexican-American history, politics, cultura y más, brought to you in part by the Gomez Law Firm. My name is Elaine Ayala, and I'm Metro columnist for the San Antonio Express-News. My guest today is Jacque Callanen, elections administrator for Bexar County, which is a position you've held for 19 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Bless your heart.
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations. It's your last month in office.
That's right. Thank you.
She's here not only because I've been begging her to come on the show, but because she's retiring at the end of January. And it's a job you've loved for a very long time. And
yes.
Reporters can hear that when they interview you that you just
really?
love your job. Yes.
Thank you.
We've talked about that.
Thank you. It's a passion.
Before we get started, we're going to play a little game of this or that. It's easy, and as I said, you can choose to elaborate on the choices or not answer at all. Republican, Democrat, or Independent?
Obviously nonpartisan.
Status quo voting or mandatory voting?
Boy, that's an open-ended question, Elaine. Status quo with some enhancements.
Okay, we'll talk about those.
Again, we've all got to do more. It's so disappointing to look at the turnouts, the turnout percentages. Mandatory would not do it. It would not do it. It would bring a different electorate. But the people who want to vote need to vote. We just have to make more people want to vote.
Sorry, I am a little microphone adjustment.
Shall we start all over?
No.
Okay.
No.
It's too far from her,
next
right?
question, yeah, I think I just need to bring it a little
okay.
bit closer to you.
All right.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, let me get back in here and then we'll just pick up.
All right. Popular vote or electoral college?
Boy, that's a big this or that. The Electoral College has been there forever. However, we're not teaching that. And so we're now seeing that we have generations that don't quite understand it. So we may have to change. We either have to go this or that. We either have to put it back in school and start educating the electorate, or we have to go to popular.
Okay. What's truer, slight election errors or widespread ones?
I'm sorry, I don't understand that.
Slight election errors?
Errors. I didn't hear the word errors. That was what it was.
Or widespread ones?
Again.
You asked the question again.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's truer, Jackie? Slight election errors or widespread ones?
Oh, slight ones. Absolutely. This is a this or that. I mean, people have come to obviously expect perfection, as they should. But the way the system is set up, and we enable everybody else to vote, to have that opportunity to walk up to the polls, it leaves it open for other. It's not errors, but the things don't balance. It leaves things in question.
Okay. Hand counts or electronic counts?
That's a this or a that, and that's a both. Because, again, in the state of Texas, electronic counts, absolutely, that gets us the results. But again, a little-known fact is that after every election, we, the elections department, all over the state, do a mandatory manual recount.
Wow.
Partial. And no one knows that either. So, yes.
I didn't know that.
That's why I said it's a this or that.
So how long does that take?
Oh, it takes literally a couple weeks. Again, why last Friday?
Until last Friday you were doing it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that's a good 3 weeks?
I mean, it goes. And the way it's set up is that after the election, the Secretary of State will send you random that you must count random precincts. This one, this one, this one.
Oh, okay. You're not counting
not the
every
entire-
single
no,
one.
it's
You're
not the
just doing
entire-
a random count so that you can check how well you did.
Yes, but however, because we're blessed to have vote centers here, which is the best thing ever, where everybody can vote on election day, if they tell you that you want all the ballots in 101, you have to count 101. Those ballots could be anywhere among
that's
the
true.
600,000 ballots.
Oh, okay.
And we have to find those.
Oh,
And so it is a
fascinating.
matter of that.
Because we can vote anywhere now,
Absolutely.
not in a specific precinct.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Do a lot of other counties still have precincts?
Yes, the smaller counties do.
Okay.
The larger ones, I think, have all gone to vote centers just for the ease of the voter.
Yeah. Landslide or close call?
Wide margins.
Oh, that's good. You're good. Okay, midterms or presidential years?
Obviously, the presidential years get all the visibility, but the midterms are so important.
So crucial.
So
it's when
education. Those are the people that really help touch your lives.
yes.
In a day-to-day.
It's also a course correction.
It's like
It's where we moderate ourselves.
that. Thank you.
Okay, and here's the easy one, I think. Corn or flour?
Oh, cool. Corn.
Wow. Okay. All righty. Everybody says corn, but sometimes I think you're lying
That's.
because you know you want flour.
You want it. That's exactly right. You
Okay.
want it.
I don't think people know what you did before you did this. So tell us a little story of what you did before you came to the county and then your progression through the county.
Thank you. I taught third grade. I was a third grade teacher, and I loved it. I taught in El Paso, and when we moved to San Antonio, I taught in San Antonio in third grade. And it's interesting how the worlds met, because it was in the 80s, and as we were on a regular day, I was at Timberwald Elementary, the principal announced over the intercom that if any of the teachers had their spare days, if they still had substitute days, that the elections department in Bexar County was looking for people to work the polls. So would we think of taking a day and we could work right there at the school? And it was like, yeah, that sounds like something. And boy, that led to the sort of the floodgates opening.
And did you start in the elections department and stay there, or did you work in the county in other means?
No, ma'am, it was straight into the elections department. I started, again, election day as a judge. And then I moved on to, when I retired, that I moved on to early voting. And I was out in the field for a couple years doing early voting, meeting the people. I was there when the state went to an open, wide early voting where anyone could vote, and developed that. And it just seemed like I was at the right time, at the right place. You know how that sometimes that karma hits it. And the systems had just switched from punch cards, hanging chads. And so we moved to paper ballots. And that was a whole different dynamic. And the elections administrator at the time, Mr. Ed Navarro, knew me and knew of my work. And so he asked me if I could come in and start building these grids. Of course, this was hand done before wonderful computers and spreadsheets and all of that fun stuff. And so I would come in and lay out the ballots and, the 200 different ballot styles to make sure everybody got to vote. And then he asked me to come from a temporary employee into a permanent. And so I started there and stayed in the department and was moved up to, the elections manager, went through operations and sort of learned all the pieces and parts of it. And it was a great foundation.
Describe what the next elections administrator will face when he or she comes into the job.
It's definitely changed. It has definitely changed. You see it every day. I mean, that's the world you live in. And from the national narrative, we've seen so much more partisanship, so much more emotions, so much more just the me, and I'm right and you're wrong, and the bifurcation of the parties, even the local parties, and that it's a different world. It's a very different world with high-stake emotions and stress. But here in Bexar County, we are blessed. Bexar County's blessed with the most amazing staff in the world that I have. It's a very small staff. There's 23 for 1.2 million registered voters, and they do a wonderful job, and they wear their hearts on their sleeves. And where can you get a group of people who will put their lives on hold? That's the piece I wish everybody could understand, that this is not a job to the people who work in the elections department. It's a passion, because they go from, most people, the 8 to 5 or your 8-hour days, which is wonderful. The life balance, work balance. And then all of a sudden you have an election. And for 90 days, those people put their lives on hold. And they work 80 hours a week. We put it down on this one. And the entire staff worked 19 days straight. And we worked 3 months under long hours. But the 19 hours, we put in 19 days of 12 to 14-hour days straight.
Wow.
And because, again, we smile and everybody has a deadline. Everybody gets a deadline. But if you miss that deadline by a few hours, you may be in trouble. We can't miss the deadline. No matter what happens, we have to be open at 7 a.m. on Election Day, or there's going to be court cases. You're going to have to stay longer. And so, of course, I sit here very proudly. We have never missed a deadline. But I just wish, even in the office, we'll talk a lot about the elections as being the Wizard of Oz. People, when there's an election, they expect to go to that poll site. They expect to go to that machine, get their ballot, and vote. They have no idea what it takes to make that happen. And I'm sure every industry can say that in every different department, but not with, I don't believe, with the same passion, because this touches people's lives in such an awesome way. And we all in our office feel that responsibility and carry it every day.
The last couple of election cycles have been passionate. And we've seen stories nationally in which election officials are targeted with harassment, even death threats. Tell us what you experienced personally and what your staff might have experienced in these last couple of cycles.
I don't want to get into the real details, but you are absolutely correct, and it is alive and well in Bexar County. The threats have escalated unbearably since about 2008 they started, and even November they ramp up and they change, and they've sort of morphed into more serious. And
the kind of serious that the police need to be involved, or
yes, ma'am.
Other law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, again, this time we had it went public again. There's such a fine line, Elaine, because you don't want to tell people, well, this happened or you had a big blow up at this site, because that's going to intimidate them. That has the possibility of having everybody say, I'm not going to go, it's too dangerous. And you can't do that. But this time it had gotten so far out of touch that we were having our election officials assaulted. I mean, you all ran the story.
Yes. Uh-huh.
It had never come to that. It had come to threats right up to that, but it had stopped. And so for this time, it crossed that invisible barrier, and we've been watching it grow.
Have you personally been threatened?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you don't want to be a little more specific?
No. I mean, I hate when it's just vague. I get that part. But no, for personal reasons, I am not comfortable.
Do you feel safe now?
Pardon me?
Do you feel safer now that the election is over?
Somewhat. It's not over yet. It's not. These elections seem to go on forever. We now have the people who have their doubts. We still have the naysayers. We still have the conspiracy theorists. We still have the people that it's a fraud. And so because of the open records requests, they're able to get almost all the information, and they put the puzzle together. And as I think I said when you were doing the this or that, a small change, there's so many things that if you're not down in the weeds, you don't understand. For instance, if someone gets the records from Bexar County main early voting site, our office, we have two separate systems, two totally separate certified systems. We have our voter registration side, where we qualify the voters and we sign them in and they get their ballot and they vote. Well, once they vote, they put it into the other system that actually tabulates it. Okay, we're good. So for your slight variances, you would expect those two to
line up.
absolutely to line up. They don't. And the reason they don't, one of the reasons they don't, is in Texas, we have what's called a limited ballot. And that means that in these elections, if someone has moved here from another county in Texas and they're registered, they can show up at the main early voting site and come into our office and ask to vote a limited ballot. Now, they have to fill out paperwork. We cancel their registration in their older county, register them here. They're not in our database.
Oh, yeah. I saw that when I went to
They're
the
not
elections
there. And there's
department.
usually a long line of people. So we've had to set up separate computers.
Yes.
You know
I
exactly
saw
what I'm
it.
talking
Yeah.
about. Then.
Right as you enter, there's a separate line.
Absolutely. Well, like we had 1,500 plus vote limited ballots. So when people get our records, and we say, okay, we had 100 people vote. Look, 100 ballots went through, but I only have 50 people on the.
Yeah.
Then everybody goes.
Yeah.
Like this. And that's pretty much like it. That's what I mean when it's not over, because different people are going to be looking for different things, and we need to be able to explain to them if they will listen.
If they will listen. Describe how well we did. Go over some of the numbers with us.
Oh, again, it was wonderful. We were so excited the first couple of days. We were just breaking records. We saw this on the horizon, and it was like, yes, it's for us, it's a Super Bowl. It was like, yes, we did it. We're going to do it. And then the numbers sort of went back down.
In the end, though, did we do okay?
We did okay. We did not do what our goal was. Again, when you go into an election, everybody says, what's the turnout going to be? Jackie, what's the turnout? And we always say our crystal ball is just, you have to read the room. I think that's the expression that you all use. And we have to take a bunch of data. And so we projected that we were going to get 63% turnout. We made 58. And so for us, we're disappointed. But
well, that is a disappointing figure.
We still had 750,000 people vote. Over 700,000 people vote. So if you look at that number, it's like, wow. If you look at a 58% turnout, that's great for Bexar County. When you're going to look at the May election for the San Antonio mayor, that's going to be 13 or 15% turnout.
Horrible.
And so that's what we're seeing. And so, again, like I said, this was for our Super Bowl.
That doesn't sound like Bexar County did well. What do elections officials all over the country sort of make? Do they study the why?
Absolutely.
What's the why?
We try and put the puzzles back together.
What's the why of that number?
Right now, the why is, or what we assume, one of the pieces. Okay, please don't say that that's just the one. But we watched going from 2020 to 2024 that the impetus was on, hey, let's register everybody to vote. Everybody's going to get registered to vote. Everybody's going to get registered to vote. Well, they register to vote, but they don't vote. Mm. There's a disconnect there. There's, again, coming from third grade, when the kids are in school, whether they're in high school, college, elementary school, nobody teaches elections. You know, the civics is gone now.
Yes,
the government structure is gone.
I know.
I can, sit here and say, you're not going to learn it at the dining room table or the kitchen table because the kitchen table is pretty much gone. And so we have got to figure that piece out. That's the why. Right there is the why. Yes, somebody says register to vote. Oh, yeah, I'll be a proud American and I'll register. But they don't take the next step. Mm-hmm. And that's what we saw here because our numbers went up.
For registration.
The registration numbers went up, but the voters stayed consistent.
What voters stayed home or just didn't bother?
Again, we haven't done that yet.
Oh, okay.
We will get to that. Yes, absolutely.
When do you think you'll get to that?
We do the data mining. It'll take us probably another 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
Because we have to.
You'll be able to tell whether older voters didn't show up or younger voters.
Right. I mean, we have that information.
Or North Side versus the rest.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And we'll put that all in and have some really nice maps.
Okay.
But again, the percentage of registrants went up. The voters stayed the same. Therefore, your percentage of turnout came down. It's just a math problem.
Tell viewers how we did in terms of Democrat, Republican, that sort of thing.
Again, we don't know.
You still don't know.
Okay. And we won't know. Texas does not register by Democrat or Republican. When you step to that table, and again,
well, how did the vote? How did the vote break down in terms of Harris and Trump?
Again, Harris won Bexar County.
Okay.
Trump won the state. And so, again, there's strongholds, and we do heat maps, and we do all of that. But until Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock.
Next Tuesday morning.
No, this last Tuesday.
Oh, I can't. Okay.
We had to have the official canvass of the election, and that's where Commissioner's Court had to come, and we only needed 2 members. We had 4, and they accept or they approve the election. Now, once we get that done, we submit that to the state. And at that point, now we can dig into the by precincts. And so, again, this is Thursday. So they're starting to do that digging into by precincts. And the other piece I think that everybody would be interested to know is when we do these large elections, the federal government comes in, swoops in. And we got that notice today. And it's called an EVES report. An election assessment, voter education, blah, 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 blah. And it's like a 50-page document where we have to dig down and answer some of those questions. For
the federal government.
Yes, and it's like a 50-page report, and we have till December 30th to finish it.
Okay.
Because it deals with how many mail ballots did you get, how many people applied, how many did you have to send another application to, how many did they send back their ballot, how many didn't send back their ballot. It digs down into everything, and it's a beautiful picture of what happened. And again, I don't think many people know that exists, but it's not quite as easy as sitting at a computer going, okay, let me have this number, let me have this number. We are actually touching documents
to gather the data.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What would you do to improve U.S. elections across the board? What changes would you like to see?
Well, again, I think I alluded to them. Let's put education back in the schools. Let's teach children from, the importance of it. I mean, again, yes, we just had a presidential election. Yes, we had all these people that turned out. But those of us, and especially you, Elaine, you know that it's the school board elections that touch their heart. It's the city elections that have an immediate impact. And nobody seems to pay attention to that. And so I, of course, keep going back to it's education. It's education. It's education. I do a lot of outreach, for instance, and I go and give a lot of talks to the colleges, to the universities, to government classes. And, how many people were registered? All those hands go up. Mm-hmm. How many people voted? You'll maybe get 2 or 3 hands to go up. But I'll say, okay, how many of you voted for the voice? Every hand in the room goes up.
Oh, God.
I mean, that is not a good feeling.
Yeah, that's terrible. But so what can technology is going to change and push for, one would hope, better participation. So when you get together with other elections officials, what is projected for the future that might improve participation?
You are so right. Oh, Elaine, if you only knew. Technology's there. The younger generation embraces technology. It's there. Then you have the Texas legislature or any legislature, okay? They do not embrace technology in the election world.
They don't embrace voting.
That's very true. That's very true. But I was going to give you like one example. So when you step into your poll site, your vote center, your early voting site, it's like putting a cake dome over it. So it's 100-foot campaign free. And the state has labeled that phone free. Cell phones off. Nobody can use their cell phones, on and on and on. Okay. Well, the younger generation, that's their life.
Why?
That's their life.
Why do you want our cell phones off?
That's because they're afraid that somebody's going to be listening to it. Somebody's going to take the picture of whoever's next to them and how they voted.
Mm.
Those are the reasons they give us. But it's been hampered for us. This last year, it came home to roost, I guess is the expression that you use. And with the younger generation, when you step up, Texas has voter ID. You have to have your photo ID. 99% of it's your driver's license. So the younger generation come, and we need their driver's license. They pull out their phone, and here's your driver's license.
Yeah.
We can't accept that.
You have to have the actual one.
You have to have the hard copy.
We're so backward.
Right there
yeah.
is, stuff like that.
And when you get together with others in the field.
Twice a year.
Will we someday be voting on our phones?
That's projected. I think it's going to take a long time for that to happen, just with all the conspiracy things and the things we're learning. I mean, and I brought it, and I don't want to go down into the weeds, but yesterday we're all sitting at our desks mm-hmm. and behaving ourselves, and here comes a projected legislative bill filed mm-hmm. by Toth 1001 to do away with all of the electronic laptops and no more electronics.
Well, that's ridiculous.
And so, but this is the second time he's filed it. He filed it 2 years ago. Toth, T-O-T-H. It's at the top. Okay. That came down. So, I mean, of course, the elections.
Oh, there he is.
All of us just went.
Representative Toth. I'm going to look him up.
So you
may keep that. Okay.
You may keep that.
He wants to just eliminate everything. So we go back to counting
paper
by hand?
ballots. Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure
it's there. I mean, he'll let you put it through a tabulator, but you have to print the ballot at the site so that the person can see you print their ballot.
And we see that already at Bexar County.
Right.
That's very reassuring, by the way.
Don't you think?
Yeah, it looks so pretty. I love paper, of all kinds. So,
and it's now what's that chemical paper? That thermal paper.
Yeah, yeah.
Is what they are.
Okay, so in the future, we could potentially be voting on our phones if the technology is probably already there.
Right.
It's just a matter of us allowing it. And probably, okay, what state in the United States is the best in terms of getting people to participate? That when you go to conferences, they say, God, I wish we could be Massachusetts. Is that the one?
It's one of the ones.
Yeah, I like Massachusetts. I think they let you, even register that day.
That day, yeah. The same day registration helps.
Mm-hmm.
Florida with all their pieces because of their senior population.
Oh,
if you look at the dynamics, even here in Bexar County,
yeah,
the majority of our voters
are older.
Yeah. And so you hit those pockets. But, there's been some, obviously, experiments around the country. And, you have Washington and Oregon and Colorado that are by mail only. And everybody thought, hey, that's going to go and it's going to raise the turnout. And it didn't. It didn't. And everybody's left shaking their hands.
Yeah, it's unfamiliar.
Saying, what happened?
Yeah.
And,
I like going to a poll.
Right.
Although I'd love to vote on my phone.
See, that's exactly.
I'd love it.
I mean, they can do that for pick a TV show.
Yeah, yeah.
Pick a TV show and they'd say it's open for, the next hour. You can have 10 votes.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
Okay. We're not there yet. Okay. This is really my last question, I think. What do you think your legacy will be in Bexar County?
I would like to think that fair and honest elections were held with integrity. And if we just use those 3 words, I would be happy.
Well, thank you so much, Jackie. When's your last day?
January 24th.
Do you think you'll get to meet the new chief?
Again, we'll see. That process is being handled otherwise. And I will tell you why I picked January 24th is for the 20 years I've been the EA, you heard me say elections are they're family. We feel like family. Mm-hmm. The judges, again, you take these senior citizens that are our judges for early voting, and they have a life, and then early voting hits. And they're working 90 hours a week. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, we're very appreciative. So for every presidential election, we have a celebration. And what we started, as you said, with the pins, but what we started was we get together and have a celebration on Inauguration Day. They have to leave politics at the door. And it's a celebration of you made this happen. You had a part of it. And they get to come in the room and they get to share experiences, tell those war stories, tell that happy story. Every one of them, if you got to talk to them, has that. It takes one voter the entire time to reassure them that they're doing the right thing. If somebody comes up and holds your hand and says, thank you so much, those are just so emotional. And every one of our officials can tell you those stories. And we give them that opportunity to share. And so I said, I'm not missing that. And so we're going to do that on January 20th. Oh. And so then it would be that Friday. So
that's awesome, Jackie. Well, thanks for being here.
Thank you for this opportunity, Elaine. Glad we got to hook up.
Uh-huh. You can watch the video version of this podcast on YouTube and listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. My Metro column appears every Wednesday and Friday in the Express News, and you can reach me via email at eayala@express-news.net. Thanks so much for listening, and see you next time on Nosotros.